The airlock hissed as the human ambassador stepped into the shining halls of Virellus Prime. His name was Captain Ryan Hale, a decorated officer chosen to be Earth's first representative to the psychic alien race known as the Yavari. He had trained for years to meet them, studied their history, their telepathic customs, even their soft musical language. But nothing prepared him for the moment he saw her, Solana. She was tall, graceful. With silver blue skin that shimmered like water, her long hair floated behind her like a curtain of starlight, and her eyes glowed a soft violet. She smiled as she walked toward him, wearing a robe lined with small crystals that pulsed with color. "This is the human?" she asked in perfect English, her voice smooth and calm. "I am Solana, your guide and translator during your time with us." Ryan nodded quickly, trying not to stare too long. He had seen pictures of the Javari, but Solana was something else. Entirely, he extended his hand, but she didn't take it instead. She gently placed 2 fingers on her forehead, a gesture of greeting. He awkwardly copied her. She gave a small chuckle. "You are not so stiff, for a human," she said. With a smirk, they walked through the crystal-lit halls of the station, passing tall Javari women who turned to stare at Ryan. Some whispered among themselves, while others simply gazed at him with unreadable expressions. Ryan tried to stay calm, but he felt like an animal on display. Solana noticed his discomfort. "They are curious," she said. "We have never met a human before. Your mind is." "Loud?" He paused, confused. "Loud?" "Yes," she said, tilting her head. "We feel emotions. Surface thoughts your kind thinks with great force, even when silent." Ryan laughed nervously. "I'll try not to think too hard then." That night, he attended a welcoming dinner in a great chamber filled with flowing light and strange musical sounds. The table was long, covered in glowing fruit and steaming dishes from across the galaxy. Javari women lined the sides, all elegant and still. Watching him carefully, Solana sat beside him, her posture perfect, her eyes scanning the room. Ryan tried to focus on his plate, but he could feel Solana beside him. So close, so calm. He looked at her profile, her smooth skin, long neck, gentle lips, and his mind drifted. Just a flash, a flicker of a thought, of her leaning closer, whispering something in his ear, touching him, and then he froze, his fork halfway to his mouth. Solana had turned her head slowly, her eyes locked on his, glowing brighter now. There was silence between them, and he felt his heart stop. I'm sorry," he blurted out quickly. "I didn't mean to think that. I swear it just slipped." She kept staring at him for a long second, her face unreadable. Then, to his surprise, she leaned closer, and with a soft, playful tone said, "You humans think strange things." He turned red, not knowing where to look. "I'm sorry, really. I didn't mean to offend you," he said again, nearly sweating. He expected her to be angry, insulted, maybe even storm out. But instead, she smirked. "Relax, Captain," she said. "I did not say I was offended." That one smirk sent a chill down his spine, not cold, but electric. She leaned back, sipped her drink, and turned back to the others as if nothing had happened. Ryan sat still, confused, curious, and just a little nervous. Was she teasing him, testing him, or did she actually enjoy the thought? As the dinner continued, Ryan realized something else. Many of the Yavari were watching him more closely now. Had they all felt that one thought? Could they all hear what he had imagined? He didn't know, but the quiet glances, the shifting eyes, the soft smiles, they all seemed to say the same thing. "We heard you, human." Later that night, Ryan stood alone on a balcony overlooking the stars. The station floated quietly above a pale green world, and the air smelled like soft flowers. He tried to calm his thoughts, but they kept drifting back to Selenar's smirk, her voice, her calm control. He wasn't sure what kind of first contact this had been, but he knew one thing for sure. It wasn't over. It had only just begun. The next morning, Ryan woke up in his guest quarters, still confused. Still thinking about her smirk, he had dreamed about Solana, her voice echoing in his head, soft and teasing. He didn't know what disturbed him more, the fact that she had read his thoughts, Or that she didn't seem to mind. No, that wasn't true. What really shook him was that part of him wanted her to read more. He stepped into the hallway and found Solana waiting for him, standing still like a statue, her robe shimmering under the soft lights. "Good morning, Captain," she said with a slight smile. "Did you sleep peacefully?" Ryan nodded quickly. "Yes, thank you." But she looked at him again, that same knowing smile tugging at her lips. "You dreamed about me?" she whispered casually, then turned and began walking. He nearly tripped over his own boots. How did you go inside my dreams?" he asked, voice full of panic. She looked back, calm as ever. "No, human minds are noisy. Even in sleep," she said. "You broadcast without knowing." Ryan followed her through the garden walkway, glowing blue vines climbing over archways. He tried to push away his thoughts, but the more he tried, the more they slipped in. Solana didn't say anything, but he could feel she was reading again. She didn't hide it. She seemed to enjoy it. "Isn't that an invasion of privacy?" he asked, half joking, half serious. "We do not see thoughts as private," Solana replied. "Not among the Yavari." She stopped near a circular bench under a sky dome, where stars shone even in daylight. "Our culture believes the mind is the truest voice," she said. "Words can lie, thoughts cannot." Ryan sat slowly, feeling overwhelmed. "So all of you hear each other's thoughts all the time?" he asked. "To a degree," she said. "We are trained to filter, to focus only on what is offered, but strong thoughts always bleed through." He sighed. "No wonder humans seem wild to you." She looked at him with a strange warmth. "You are not wild," she said. "You are warm." Ryan blinked, unsure what she meant. Solana continued, "Your thoughts are full of emotion, movement. Color. Ours are controlled, slow, cold." She placed her hand near his shoulder, not touching, just hovering. "When I touched your thoughts last night, I felt something. Dangerous but alive." He swallowed hard, unsure what to say. "I'll try to keep my brain calm," he muttered. She laughed gently. "That would be a shame." Before he could respond, another Javari approached, younger, with golden eyes and short crystal-like hair. She looked curious and maybe a little shy. "Is this the human?" she asked Solana. "Yes, this is Captain Ryan," Solana replied. The younger alien stepped forward and looked into Ryan's eyes. She didn't speak, but her gaze deepened. Ryan suddenly felt her presence in his mind. It was gentle, not invasive, but very real, like someone lightly knocking on a door without entering. Then she stepped back and whispered his feelings. "They burn." Ryan was stunned. "What does that mean?" he asked. Solana answered for her. "To us, your feelings are like fire passion. Fear, desire, love, all burning at once." The younger girl nodded, still watching him. "I want to feel more," she said softly, and then walked away. Ryan turned to Solana, nervous. "Is that normal?" "No," Solana replied. "It is not." They continued walking, passing through sections of the station where alien women sat in quiet meditation. Some glanced up at him as he passed, curiosity filling their eyes. Others smiled politely, but a few stared deeply, too deeply, like they were trying to reach into him. Solana noticed his discomfort. "Many here are interested in you now," she said. "Some for the wrong reasons." He looked at her, surprised. "Wrong reasons?" She stopped walking and looked into his eyes again, her voice lower. "You must understand, Ryan, your mind is rare to us, exotic." He didn't like the sound of that. "Like a pet?" I asked. "Like a flame in a frozen world," she whispered suddenly. A message lit up on the nearby crystal wall. It was from the Council of Minds. They had summoned him. Solana's face changed, the warmth fading into concern. "They wish to test you," she said. "To know what kind of fire burns inside the human." Ryan stood there, unsure if this was a dream or a trap. But deep inside, he knew this was no ordinary diplomatic visit. This was something more, something dangerous, something that would change him forever. Captain Ryan stood before the entrance of the Hall of Thoughts. It was a vast chamber carved from glowing violet stone. The walls humming like a soft heartbeat, alien symbols hovered in the air, constantly shifting, alive with invisible energy. Solana stood beside him, her expression unreadable, her fingers tight around the folds of her robe. "Once you enter," she said quietly, "there is no hiding, no lie in your mind will be seen." Your soul felt. Ryan took a breath, his heart pounding. This wasn't part of the original agreement. He had come to speak for humanity, not open his mind like a book for everyone to read. Yet something inside him whispered that this was more than politics now. This was personal. This was about him and Solana, and something deeper that was just beginning to grow. The tall doors slid open without sound. Inside, alien women, dozens of them, sat in perfect rows around a floating platform of light. They wore robes of different shades, their eyes glowing softly as they turned toward him. At the center stood the Elder Mind, a tall Javari matriarch with crystal horns and skin like polished pearl. She raised a hand and spoke without words, her voice echoing directly into his head. "We do not judge by appearance, nor by speech, but by thought, emotion." In memory, human Solana gently touched Ryan's back and nodded. He stepped onto the platform, which lit up beneath his feet. Warm air surrounded him, and a soft wind whispered from nowhere. The chamber fell into silence. Then the Elder Mind spoke again. "Let the trial begin." Suddenly Ryan felt pressure building in his skull. His heartbeat quickened, and then he was no longer in the hall. He stood in a dreamlike space, floating between memory and thought. Familiar sounds echoed his childhood laughter. The voice of his mother, the first time he flew a ship. Then came the darker memories: war, loss, loneliness, and moments of weakness. His worst nightmares surfaced, raw and unfiltered. He saw himself breaking down in battle, crying in secret, making terrible decisions. He wanted to run, to shut it down, but he couldn't. He was open. Naked, exposed. Suddenly Solana appeared beside him. Her image wasn't real. She had entered the mind space with him. "I'm with you," she whispered. "Don't fight it. Just feel it." Then came the part he feared most: desire. Memories of longing, flashes of his private thoughts, and yes, there she was again, Solana, as he had imagined her. He turned in shame, but she reached out and touched his hand. "I already saw," she said gently, "but now I understand why Ryan expected the others to laugh, to reject him." But something strange happened. He felt warmth, acceptance, even awe. The Elder Mind appeared before him, a shimmering figure of light, and whispered, "You feel too much. But that is not weakness, it is fire." Ryan blinked, and the vision faded. He stood once again on the glowing platform, gasping softly, Solana beside him, calm and proud. The alien women were silent, watching, some with tears in their eyes, others smiling faintly. The Elder Mind finally spoke aloud, her voice echoing like crystal. "This human has passed, his mind is loud, but his soul is real." A wave of soft light passed through the room, and Ryan felt something shift in the air. Not just respect, curiosity, connection, even desire. He was no longer just a guest. He had become something new, a symbol of emotion. Spark in their cold world. Solana stepped closer and whispered, "You showed them everything, and still they accepted you." He looked at her and said, "Did you?" She smiled, but didn't answer. Instead, she took his hand gently and said, "There is more I want to feel, but not here." As they left the Hall of Thoughts, alien eyes followed them, some filled with wonder, others with jealousy. Some watched in silence, while others whispered softly. One word repeated through the air, like a secret chant: "The burning human." But Ryan didn't hear them. He only saw Solana, walking beside him under the soft lights, and for the first time, he wasn't afraid of being seen. He wanted her to see it all. That night, the station lights dimmed to soft blues and purples. The stars outside shone brighter than usual. As if the universe was holding its breath, Ryan stood alone on the high garden balcony, where the air smelled like silver leaves and distant rain. He had passed the psychic trial, shown the aliens everything inside him: his pain, his past, his private thoughts, and yet they didn't turn away, especially Solana. She stayed beside him, even in the storm of his mind. Footsteps echoed behind him, soft, graceful, familiar. He turned and found Solana walking toward him, her robe loose around her shoulders, her hair shimmered like moonlight. And for the first time, she looked uncertain. "I thought you might want to be alone," she said quietly. Ryan shook his head. "Not tonight." She stopped beside him, looking out into the stars, her hands folded in front of her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then she said, "Your memory surprised them, but not me?" Ryan raised an eyebrow. "You've seen them before?" She shook her head. "No, but I felt them before they rose." She touched her chest softly. "Here."
House.
There was something different in her voice tonight. Softer, more fragile. "I wasn't supposed to feel so much," she continued. "We Javari are trained to control thought, to avoid strong emotions. But I watched you face your shame, your love, your fear, and you didn't hide." She looked at him, her glowing eyes less guarded now, that kind of openness. "It scared me." Ryan stepped closer. "Why?" She answered without hesitation. "Because I liked it." The words hit him like a warm breeze. He didn't know what to say, so he let her speak. "I've read thoughts for years, millions of them," she said. "Most are cold, logical, quiet, but yours," she said. Placing a hand over his chest, "Yours are alive." He looked down at her hand, then back at her face. "And what does that mean to you?" Solana's lips curled into a faint smile. "It means I want to feel more. Not just read it, I want to experience it." Her voice trembled slightly, but she didn't look away. "I want to know what it means to be held without asking, to be missed, to be wanted not as a psychic, not as an alien, but as me." She stepped even closer. Barely a breath between them. "Do humans give that freely?" she whispered. "Do you?" Ryan felt his heart beat stronger. He reached out slowly and touched her hand. "Yes," he said softly, "but only if it's real." Solana tilted her head, curious what is real to a human. She asked. He looked into her eyes. "Real is staying when someone is broken. Real is protecting someone even when you're afraid. Real is choosing one person when you could have many." Her eyes shimmered, a tear catching the light. "We don't cry often," she said, surprised by the wetness on her cheek. "But I think I like this." Before he could respond, a high-pitched tone rang through the air. A holographic sigil appeared beside them, pulsing red. Ryan stepped back, confused. "What is that?" Solana's expression darkened. "A message from the council," she said. "They want you." Again Ryan felt the mood collapse already. She nodded, frustration in her voice. "I don't trust them," she whispered. "Not after today." He looked at her closely. "Why not?" She hesitated, then said, "Because they don't want you for diplomacy anymore." "What do they want?" he asked. Solana looked away, as if afraid to say it. "Your thoughts?" "Your emotions. Your ability to feel," she said slowly. "They want to harvest it, study it." Maybe even she stopped herself. But Ryan understood. "They see me as a subject," he said grimly. "Yes," she replied, "but I see you." As more, the balcony fell into silence again. Ryan's mind raced. He had thought passing the trial would bring peace. But it had only made him more valuable, more dangerous. Solana turned to him, her face full of quiet urgency. "You have to be careful now," she said. "They'll smile to your face, but listen to your dreams." He nodded, then gently took her hand again. "Will you help me?" he asked. Her answer was a whisper. "With everything I have." They stood there in the starlight, their hands joined, not a human and an alien anymore, but two minds, two hearts, choosing to stand against what came next. Captain Ryan followed Solana down the glowing corridor with a heart full of worry. The red signal from the council had come without warning. And it didn't feel like a simple request. The doors ahead opened into a circular chamber made of crystal, in light, where 5 Yavari elders floated silently above shimmering seats. They all stared at Ryan with eyes that glowed but carried no warmth. Solana stood beside him, her fingers brushing his arm for just a second before stepping back. One of the elders spoke, her voice like soft thunder in his mind. "Human, you have passed the trial of thought," she said. "Your emotions are powerful, your passion rare." Another added, "The Yavari people have lived too long in silence. In logic, without desire or feeling. A third elder leaned forward, her lips barely moving. We offer you purpose, human, and in return, we ask only one thing. Ryan narrowed his eyes. What exactly do you want from me? The room dimmed, and a large projection appeared in the era diagram of the Yavari brain. The elder spoke again. Our minds no longer produce certain chemicals. Emotions fade early in our lives, but your thoughts awaken something in you as curiosity, longing, sensation. Another voice whispered, You're a fire, and we are cold stone. Ryan stepped back slightly, unease rising in his chest. You want me to teach you how to feel? He asked carefully. No, the eldest said. We want you to help us evolve. Then came the words he feared. We ask that you stay on Varela's prime. Share your thoughts, your presence, even your genetics. The room fell quiet, but the meaning was clear. Ryan wasn't just a guest anymore. He was being asked to become something more. Something closer to a symbol, or worse, a resource. Before he could respond, Solana stepped forward, her voice firm. This was not agreed upon, she said sharply. You do not use him as a vessel. One of the elders looked at her, emotionless. You are too close, Solana, the voice said. Your feelings cloud your reason. Solana didn't flinch. Good, she replied. Let them. The elders went silent again, and faded from view as the room dimmed. The council had said what they came to say. Their offer was now on the table. As Ryan and Solana walked out, the hallway felt colder. Longer and far more dangerous. He looked at her, trying to calm the storm inside his chest. They want me to stay and become. What? A machine for emotions? They think it's progress, she said bitterly, but they don't understand what they're asking. Before he could reply, someone called out. A new voice, soft but playful. Ryan turned and saw another Javari girl walking toward them. She was younger, with short glowing hair and golden eyes that sparkled with mischief. I heard what happened, she said sweetly. You must be very special. Solana immediately tensed. Ryan offered a polite nod. Just human, that's all. But the girl stepped closer, looking him up and down. We've never felt so much from a male before, she whispered. Can I try something? Before Ryan could speak, she leaned in and kissed him. Quick and soft, but shocking all the same, Solana's voice cut through the moment like a blade. Enough, she snapped. The younger girl stepped back, smirking. I just wanted to know what it felt like, she said, and walked away. Solana didn't say a word. She turned and started walking in the other direction. Fast. Ryan chased after her. Wait, Solana, please. I didn't ask for that. She didn't stop, but her voice was shaking. You didn't stop it either. He caught up, gently pulling her arm. Are you angry because she kissed me? Or because she felt something you didn't want her to feel? She turned, her eyes wet with a glow he hadn't seen before. I don't know, she whispered. This is new to me, all of it. Ryan sighed. It's new to me too. They stood in silence again, the tension between them rising. Solana finally whispered, if you stay, others will try to touch your mind, your body, your soul. Can you say no to all of them? Ryan looked into her eyes and replied, I can say no to them, but not to you. Solana blinked, caught off guard. You would choose just one? She asked. Yes, he said. If it's you, she didn't smile. Not this time. Instead, she turned and looked out over the glowing garden below. Then she whispered, then we have a problem, because now they'll try to take you away from me. Asterisk Captain Ryan was dreaming, or so he thought. He stood in the middle of an endless black field, with no stars, no light, and no sound. Then slowly, memories began to appear like floating glass screens. His childhood, his pain, his joy, and then Solana. But she didn't look at him with warmth anymore. She stared at him like he was a stranger. A voice echoed across the dark. You are ours now, human. He tried to run, but the floor cracked, like thin ice beneath his feet. Images swirled faster, battlefields, sorrow, blood, and soft moments twisted into cruel illusions. He couldn't move, couldn't breathe. His mind was no longer his own. Somewhere far away, in the real world, alarms blared, Solana burst through. A sealed corridor, eyes wide with fear, she pushed past 2 guards and entered the restricted chamber where Ryan was floating inside a glass-like psychic cocoon. Wires of energy curled around his head, pulsing red with every thought they pulled. From him, a dark-cloaked group of Yavari stood watching, unmoved. "You had no right," Solana shouted, her voice filled with fury. One of them turned to her calmly. "We are preserving his emotions, studying his reactions, preparing the next generation." Solana stepped forward, her hand glowing with light. "End it now, or I will tear the thoughts from your skulls." Another voice, colder than the rest, replied, "He is too valuable to be left to your personal feelings." Solana didn't wait. She closed her eyes and pushed herself into the mind stream. The room pulsed with energy as her body froze and her mind plunged into Ryan's broken world inside the dream space. Ryan wandered in circles, trapped in memories twisted into nightmares. He was reliving old failures again and again, his dying squad, the woman he couldn't save, the shame he hid. Then, suddenly everything froze. A soft light pierced the dark. Solana appeared beside him, glowing like a star in the abyss. "Ryan," she whispered. Reaching out, he turned, eyes wide. "Solana," he said, choking. "They're tearing me apart." She moved closer, cupping his face. "I'm here. I'm real. Hold on to me." The shadows screamed as she touched his mind, trying to rip her away. But she stood firm. "You are not a subject," she shouted. "You are not theirs." The illusions changed again this time, showing Solana walking away from him. Cold, distant, fading into mist, Ryan screamed, trying to hold on. But Solana reached through the illusion and whispered into his ear, "This is not real. I will not leave you with those words." The darkness cracked like broken glass. The dream shattered, and Ryan fell forward into her arms, gasping for breath. They opened their eyes at the same time, both back in the real world. The room was in chaos, energy sparking wildly as the psychic cocoon melted around them, the cloaked Javari stumbled back, shielding their eyes. Solana stood, holding Ryan's hand tightly. "You will not touch him again," she said calmly, but with power. The energy around her pulsed like a living storm. The eldest among the group bowed his head slowly. "You have bonded with him," he said, surprised. Solana nodded. Fully, Ryan looked at her in shock. "Bonded?" he whispered. She turned to him with soft eyes. "Your mind and mine touched completely, deeper than any trial, any connection." He felt something in his chest, something real. His thoughts were no longer alone. Solana was there too, like a second heartbeat. The council chamber door slid open, and several guards rushed in. Followed by the elder mind herself, she surveyed the room, saw the melted device, the broken minds. The two standing in the center of chaos, her voice echoed. Gently. "It is done," she said. "The bond is formed, but this changes everything," she added. "Now he is not just human, he is one of us." Ryan didn't know what came next, what it meant politically, diplomatically, or even emotionally. All he knew was that the woman who had once smirked at his stray thought had now fought her own kind to protect the truth of what he felt. Not with weapons, but with her heart. They walked out of the room slowly, together, and though the station lights still flickered behind them, inside Ryan's mind, all was calm. Solana looked at him, smiling softly. "I didn't just hear your thoughts anymore," she whispered. "I shared them." The gardens of Varellus Prime were quiet. The stars above shimmered like dust scattered over black silk. Gentle lights floated through the trees. Glowing with soft energy, Captain Ryan sat alone by the crystal pond, dipping his fingers into the still water. He didn't hear footsteps, but he felt her before she arrived. His thoughts stirred, and hers answered like a whisper in the wind. Solana stood behind him. Arms crossed, her robe loose and flowing like water, her silver blue skin shimmered under the starlight, her violet eyes glowing gently. She walked over and sat beside him, their shoulders barely touching. For a moment, they said nothing. The silence was no longer awkward, it was filled with comfort. "You're calm now," she said softly. Ryan nodded, smiling. "Because you're here." Solana looked down at the water, her reflection dancing beside his. "Since the bond," she said, "I've felt your thoughts, even when you don't speak." "I didn't expect them to be so gentle," he chuckled. "You've seen everything inside me." "And still you stayed." She turned toward him, her face serious now. "I stayed because I chose to," she said. "Not because of the council. Not because of the bond. I stayed because your mind is loud. It's messy, full of flaws, but also brave and warm and painfully human." Ryan reached for her hand, holding it gently. "You risked everything back there," he said. "You could have been punished." She tilted her head and gave him the look he remembered from the first day, the very first smirk. "I don't regret it." She whispered, "Besides, you were thinking about kissing me when you were unconscious." Ryan blinked, then laughed out loud. "You read that?" She smirked again, leaning just a little closer. "I didn't have to read. It was glowing." Their lips met. Finally, gently, not rushed. Not desperate, just real, like two minds pressing closer until they became one, when they parted. Solana rested her head on his shoulder. "For a race built on logic," she whispered. "You've made us all feel again." Ryan looked around, realizing how quiet the station had become. Not cold, quiet, but peaceful. Javari women passed them, smiling softly, nodding with understanding. Some no longer floated with stiffness. They walked, laughed, even cried. Emotion had returned to the halls of Varelis, and the human had become the spark. Later, the elder. Mind summoned them once more, but this time it was not for judgment. It was a ceremony, not royal, not sacred, simply a moment of truth. "You are the bridge between us and what we have lost," the elder mind said to Ryan. "We name you Keeper of Flame." He looked at Solana, unsure, but she squeezed his hand and said, "That means you're ours now." The entire station gathered, not to witness a new law or treaty, but to feel something different. They watched as Ryan stood beside Solana, under the glowing tree of thoughts, and without speaking, everyone around them shared the same feeling that this human, strange and loud, had changed something no machine ever could after the ceremony. Ryan and Solana returned to the garden where it all began. He sat down with a deep breath and looked up at the stars. "Never thought my first mission would end like this," he said. Solana sat beside him and smirked. "Me neither." They stayed there until the twin moons rose, talking not with words, but with shared thoughts, gentle emotions, and soft smiles. As the stars danced overhead, Ryan turned toward her and said, "So, what am I thinking now?" Solana closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them slowly. Her smirk deepened. "Oh," she said softly, "very human." She leaned in again, brushing her lips against his, but this time she whispered, "I'm thinking it too, and under alien stars." Among a race that had forgotten how to feel, a human taught them how to love again. Asterisk.